All right, let's I guess get this started. Sorry for the little technical difficulties there. Um, my name is Aaron Ogle. I am the lead cloud architect for Rocket.Chat. And today we're going to be talking about the Rocket.Chat on the AWS Marketplace. With me today, I have Lucia. She's going to kind of help me out with make this a little bit more interesting, hopefully. Oops. So if you guys, while you guys are watching, if you have any questions, join our webinars channel on our community server. You can access that at open.rocket.chat in the webinars channel. We'll be answering some questions here towards the end. So in this demo, we're going to be installing Rocket.Chat using the Rocket.Chat container from AWS Marketplace, and we're going to be installing it in EKS. Some of the technologies we're going to be using is, of course, Rocket.Chat. We're going to be using traefik, Helm, Kubernetes, AWS, and of course, AWS Marketplace. Some of the things that you will need, of course, an AWS account. You'll need to install the AWS CLI, which is in their documentation. Make sure you run the AWS configure so that you're actually signed in. And you also need to install, or at least for this demo, we're going to use the eksctl tool. This helps setting up a Kubernetes install in Amazon. And then we're going to, you also need Helm.
And what's Helm? What is this for?
Yeah. Okay, so Helm is basically a list of charts that like Kubernetes scripts, like templates. So we have one, we have a Rocket.Chat Helm chart. So it'll let you run one command and it'll spin up Mongo, it'll spin up Rocket.Chat, it'll plug in some of the variables to help you configure it. And just in general, makes your deployment life a lot easier.
Great.
All right, so I guess demo time. Hope let's hope the demo gods are in our favor, right? All right. So first of all, we're going to got a little cheat sheet here. I'm going to pop up from time to time to grab stuff. So the first thing you need to do is actually run the eksctl command. And so for this particular part, you won't need the AWS profile. For me, I actually am using sub accounts in our AWS account. So we have one specifically created for this demo. So eksctl create cluster, and for this cluster, we named it demo cluster. And the region we set it to US West 2. I think by default, for some reason, it actually set it to US West 2, but I went ahead just for being verbose, went ahead and included it here. So I've actually ran this command before, kind of cheated a little bit, but it actually takes 15 to 20 minutes sometimes. So for everybody's sake, I figured I would go ahead and pre-run this command. So the next thing you need to do is, so AWS or EKS, I think it was with Kubernetes 1.9 or somewhere in that range, they enabled RBAC, so the role-based access controls. So we need to actually install, like pre-install a service account for the Helm chart. So I've got one here locally. You can also find it from the document. Sorry about that. What's that?
Tiller, what would be related to Helm?
Yeah, so Tiller is the actual service that runs inside of Kubernetes. So the server-side component that Helm talks to help deploy and manage Helm charts inside of Kubernetes. So this basically is just adding a service account to let Tiller actually have administrative rights into the cluster. So we're going to go ahead and insert that into the cluster. So when you actually run the eksctl, it'll automatically plug in the configuration for kubectl. So you don't need to, like, it should just work out of the box. So we're going to apply this.
With kubectl, you can communicate with the cluster that is just you just created.
Right. Exactly. So this is how you talk to the Kubernetes cluster. So you can see this actually is unchanged. I actually forgot to delete it from my pre-run, but in any case, here's what actually they created when doing this fresh. So then next you would run helm init, and then in this case we actually need to specify a the service account. So the service account is created above. And so what this does is this is actually talking to the Kubernetes cluster and inserting the Helm service component inside the cluster.
Okay.
Okay, and next we're going to actually install traefik. So traefik is an awesome load balancer. What it does is it actually acts as a ingress controller for Kubernetes. And it does a really cool thing where it actually just watches for ingress records to be created. And then it automatically proxies through. So the configuration it's an amazing tool. And ingress, for those that don't know, is basically just like a virtual host entry in something like Nginx or Apache or other typical load balancers.
Right.
Okay, so let's go ahead and do this. So with this, we actually, part of the command is we have to actually tell the traefik Helm chart that we want to enable, that RBAC is enabled in the cluster. If we don't do this, then traefik is not able to see those ingress records. So if we set this, it'll automatically create the RBAC rule that we had to create for Helm earlier. It'll create its own RBAC rule with the appropriate permissions needed to operate.
So this is the same case with Helm, just to be able. I mean, in this cloud provider, you have airbag enabled, so you need it, right?
Yeah. So I think it's actually enabled by default with like Kubernetes 1.9, or maybe it's okay. It used to be disabled, but I think now it's enabled by default, and most cloud providers that I've run across now have it actually enabled. I know GCP does and AWS does. I'm not really sure about Azure's or some of the other providers. So this creates this actually creates a deployment. It creates has a config map, creates a service account like I mentioned earlier, cluster role bindings. So this is the RBAC stuff. Creates a service. So this is actually the important one of the important ones. And so this is actually creating with AWS. It's creating a load balancer, like an elastic load balancer. And so we'll get an IP for that in just a second. And then a deployment, which is of course traefik actually running. So quickly here, we're going to run an kube system. We're going to service. So you can see here, this is actually what Amazon went ahead and provisioned. And so we're going to do a little bit of behind the scene magic as we go forward and actually create a CNAME for our demo here. But we'll go ahead and go on while that's happening. So optionally, while you're when you're doing this, you can also with traefik you enable Acme. So Acme will let you automatically create with Let's Encrypt and generate your HTTP, HTTPS, your TLS certificates. And of course, with that, you would need the Acme email, which is something that Let's Encrypt needs. Like I mentioned, Lucia will be actually creating this CNAME for us while we go forward.
Ready.
Oh, awesome. So next, we're going to actually go and get the marketplace image. So AWS Marketplace is like a marketplace. They have like they have a lot of checks in the images. Oops, wrong one. So I'm gonna do the enterprise. They have a lot of checks, so they do a lot of security checks on the images. They also they let you actually pull your image from Amazon's infrastructure. So if you're like an Amazon customer, then of course you want to keep everything kind of in-house. And they also provide like actual subscription type things. It's a pretty awesome. So I'm gonna go ahead and continue. I'm sorry, go ahead.
What happened when you subscribe to the image?
Yeah, so when you subscribe, so it goes and I believe what's happening behind the scene is it's provisioning access for your AWS account to talk to our registry. So where our image is actually registered in AWS. Yeah, so it's what this is happening. So this actually I've done this before, so it's not going to do this, but it'll actually say that you're subscribing, and I think it took me about 2 minutes, and it was done. They also send you an email kind of letting you know that it's finished. So then you go to configure. This is where you can select the multiple like software versions. Like say you wanted to choose a specific version of Rocket.Chat. You do that here. And we will, of course, there will actually be, we'll be releasing 74.2 to this shortly, probably actually today. And then, yeah, I guess some of these actually can have multiple containers, but for us, we only have the Rocket.Chat. Okay, so to continue to launch. So from here, you would actually be able to get the image name.
Oh, great.
So you can copy that to clipboard. So this big long string here is this is the registry that Amazon gives us for the marketplace. I believe this is the product ID, the container group, and then the actual container, and then the version. So we're going to take that, and I've got a pre-configured or pre-made up command here for helm chart. So what we've got here is, I am naming this particular one RC, and we are setting the Mongo username to Rocket.Chat. The Mongo password is super secure. Super secure. We're setting the database to Rocket.Chat. Then here we're actually setting the repo that was provided to us over here. And then we set the tag to use. So since we're actually exposing this with Ingress, we are going to set the Ingress enabled to true.
Okay.
And the host name that we're going to be using is AWS Market Webinar. This is the one that we created the CNAME for just earlier. And a little bit of extra that's needed just to make sure traffic sees the Ingress record is we add an Ingress annotation, basically to say, traffic is the one that will be handling the Ingress. And finally, of course, we actually specify the chart that we want to install. So go ahead and run them.
This means for this helm chart of Rocket.Chat, you already have Mongo installed. So you have username, password, and the database.
So this actually installs Mongo. So we have to, I believe it's the MongoDB Helm chart. They recently added the username and password. So if you don't set it, it'll set its own, and then Rocket.Chat can't actually communicate. So doing this, basically, we're just saying, hey, use this username and password, and then this lets Rocket.Chat actually, use that. So Helm charts, the cool thing is they can actually be made up of multiple. So our Helm chart is made up of, our part, and then it actually also consumes MongoDB's Helm chart. So this is us passing variables over.
And it's nice. You can set the rep. You can specify the one that you want to install.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so this is inserted. So what we'll do here is we will actually look and see the pods created. You can see here that both Mongo and Rocket.Chat are in the process of being created there in Kubernetes. So I'm gonna do a watch just so I don't have to keep refreshing. So it looks like the Rocket.Chat container came up and Mongo container came up. Go for up. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to watch the logs for this container just to see when it actually is ready. Now you can see that of course the first time it did not. There we go. Mongo wasn't quite up when it initially started, so it timed out, and then now that it restarted automatically, which is an awesome thing about Kubernetes. It restarted, and then of course this time it actually got to Mongo and started up. So from here, should actually be able to hit our Rocket.Chat instance. So this is Rocket.Chat running inside of our EKS cluster in Amazon. So I guess let me just quickly go through. Not entirely necessary, but I'll just go ahead and go through this process real quick. Go ahead and just skip those for now. And we're registering for access to the push gateway and the marketplace. And ta-da! Here we are actually inside of our instance. So like I mentioned before, you could actually, with traefik, you could set the Acme flag to true. And so this would actually, instead of having this not secure up here, you would it automatically provision the certificate. For the case of the demo, we didn't want another piece that would fail, so I went ahead and actually admitted that. Not to say that it would fail, but you're always tempting fate when you do a live demo. So, all right. So from here, do we have any questions?
I was wondering, you could set the log level into, for more logging, right? In Rocket.Chat, if you wanted to see after the server setup.
Yeah, for sure. So in the administration, you can actually, I believe it's, so logs, you can actually set it to errors and information and debugging. So basically log everything. We've got quite a few things here. You can actually log exceptions to a channel if you want to be alerted when there's an exception. Yeah, it's quite a bit of options there. So in the webinar channel, do we happen to have any questions or?
Yeah, it says how many users can we support with going to AWS? So with this image that you deployed, if there is some restriction on the user.
No, there's definitely no restriction on the users. It kind of follows to the typical resources available. So you would definitely need to size, like when you're planning this out, you need to size your cluster properly. And based on your user load, you might need to scale Rocket.Chat horizontally. So add additional replicas to your replica set. But yeah, so there's definitely no like limit to how many users you can run.
There is a related question about that. That one, Martin is asking if the replica site it's not enabled, or for this instance setup is just for small communities, or you could with the Helm chart configure the replica set as well.
Yeah, so there actually I think is a separate Helm chart specifically for Mongo replica set, but you could definitely access Mongo. What am I doing here? Just like for example, you could actually hop into the Mongo container here.
Yeah, I think it enables even this chart to configure replica set.
Yeah, it's very possible it does. I'm not entirely sure. So you can actually pop like we did here into a Mongo shell, and then you could run the rs initialize, or I think it's initiate, just like you would in any other cluster. And then at that point, you would be able to have a replica set.
Great. Then someone is asking if this could be run together with AWS Document DB, so like their database.
Yeah. So I think Document DB supports like Mongo 2.6. Technically, maybe, but I don't know that. Actually, I don't know that Document DB supports OffLog. If it doesn't support OffLog, your horizontal scaling with Rocket.Chat would be pretty limited. You run into all kinds of issues on Rocket.Chat side, basically because the OffLog is what we use to synchronize a lot of information coming. Like you send a message on one instance, the other instances will be able to see it and deliver it to the users connected to those. So OffLog is a very important piece. If it supports that and supports all the other commands we're using, maybe. I definitely would recommend sticking with actual Mongo. That's definitely what we support.
Yeah, what's more tested. And
Yeah, we tested it.
the user that you can support in this large scale setup that you were suggesting that is possible. Martin also asked if how many users can we expect it to work correctly.
So do all the scaling. There's no real answer to that. Like I said, it really depends on your resources. It depends on how your users are using Rocket.Chat. There's not like an out of the box answer that I can just tell you that it'll support X number of people. And then of course, like we have additional things coming in our enterprise that'll actually let you scale even further than you would normally. But there's no like answer that I can just give you. It really depends on your resources and your use case.
Yeah, but we have open, which is a large deployment, and it works really well with many users.
Yeah, we have lots of customers with a lot of users, and every one of them is deployed slightly different. So there's really not like a one size fits all, which I know is not an answer you want to hear. But there's not a one size fits all, but you could definitely contact us. We could probably work with helping you put together a solution that would work for you.
Great. I think that answers the questions I see right now.
Awesome.
There's someone else writing. Yeah. Jan, I know, is writing another question.
Okay. Good move.
It is why DB not working if RC supports MongoDB 3.6. So maybe DocumentDB has already updated to.
So yeah, it may support, but like I said before, like they support if you look at it, Mongo wrote a post about this. They support, like, they don't support every single command, right? They support a big subset of the commands, but they don't necessarily support all of the commands that Mongo supports.
Okay.
And the biggest thing is if OffLog is not supported with document DB, like I said, that is where your big issue is probably going to lie.
Okay. And then Jan also asked if you can share the notes for this.
Yeah. We actually plan on turning this into a document, and we could share the slides and the recording and everything with the people that subscribe to the webinar.
Okay. And one last question that says if the OffLog tailing could be a limiting factor for scaling up Rocket.Chat. Martin asks.
It might be at some point. It's not entirely clear exactly where that would be. There are, like I mentioned earlier, we do have like the enterprise. We have some things coming, and OffLog is actually one of the things that I believe is going away. And then increased scaling package. So at that point, then OffLog would definitely not be a limiting factor.
Right. So I guess that is all the questions.
Awesome. I will. I'll jump in the webinar channel afterwards, and just in case anybody else has questions. But just for, I guess, everybody else's sake, we'll go ahead and put this to an end. So thanks everybody for joining us. Lucia, thanks for coming and keeping me company. If anybody has questions or if you want some more information, definitely visit our website. Check our docs out. If you're interested in our enterprise edition, contact sales at Rocket.Chat, and they will be more than happy to help you out. All right. Have a good day, everybody. We'll talk to you later.
Bye.
All right. Bye.